as I promised you early on, I will keep this presentation short and sweet, and will make sure that the terminology that I am using is not burdening you but helping you understand the research that I have done. So you see from the title, diversifying our understanding of teaching and learning through a study of the pedagogical system of Indian classical music. Generally, when we think of teaching and learning, we think of it in very limited ways. And there are many paradigms that have dominated the way we look at the system of education. But Indian classical music, it's a very ancient tradition. So my hope was to learn how this tradition has survived, changed, modified, evolved over a period of time, and especially in terms of its pedagogical aspects. Because as you know, I'm a professor of education, so that was my interest. I will be covering these points, basically sharing with you the key points that I considered in doing this research and what I found. So, as some of you know, I started learning Indian classical music quite late in my life. I would say about 10 years or so. Took it as seriously as I could. And in the process, I realized a few things because I'm also an educator, that wow, this is a whole system of education. So not only the music have always piqued my interest, but that it is also an education system that can be studied and learned from, what their curricular principles are, what their teaching and learning principles are. So I thought it's very interesting, and I integrated music as part of my research, understanding and learning about, not only learning music but also learning about music as central to my research. The basic goal was very clear and simple. I wanted to understand what are the pedagogical, philosophical, curricular principles that underlie Indian classical music, the way it is taught, the way it is learned. Okay, I will skip this part, okay, for your sake. Data collection. As you know, Indian classical music originated in India. Of course, the Indian classical music is centered on ragas, raga music, which is not limited to India, which is very common around the Indian subcontinent. but its primary location, I would say, is India. And because my location is in Canada, so I wanted the information about Indian classical music from both the places, the place of its origin and its most and place where it's most active, as well as in Canada. And of course, it also involved a theoretical review of the literature. So I recruited 8 participants from India, 8 teachers from 4 centers. I'll tell you about those centers, and 2 teachers from Canada. I focused on University of Delhi, Banaras University, Saptak School of Music, and ITC Research Academy. You will see they're all in different part of India, and those of you who are familiar with India, it's a pretty big country. So Delhi University is located in north in Delhi. Calcutta is in the east. ITC Sangeet Research Academy. Saptak School of Music is in the west, in Ahmedabad, and Banaras Hindu University is in north. So these are the number of participants I recruited. Basically, harmonium player, vocalist, tabla player, whoever I could get a hand on, whoever was ready to participate in this study, whoever qualified to participate in this study, but also who was ready to participate in this study. And I chose 2 centers, two teachers in Edmonton, those who I could have a familiarity with because of my mutual connection. It's like purposive sampling, you can call it, and they both teach from their homes, as most teachers do in India, in Canada. I conducted interviews with each participant, 1 to 2 hours interview, and also sat in their classes to see how they operate, how they teach, what things they take into consideration while teaching. Key interview points. So this is what I wanted to know from them. This was my interest in this research. Their history of teaching and learning Indian classical music. You will see in the panel discussion today, I will have some of the same questions that I asked my participants in India and Canada. What their philosophy of teaching and learning is, how it came to be the way it is, their perspectives on curriculum, how do they design their curriculum, how do they see their connection with their students, and importance of listening and improvisation and creativity. So all the key findings, because of the focus of my research on teaching and learning related to curriculum teaching and learning. This is a very interesting point. You know, the Indian classical music has been growing, changing, evolving for thousands of years. And in different periods, in different locations, in different contexts, the pedagogy, how we look at the curriculum, how we look at how to taught, what to be taught, what is the purpose for teaching, differs. So for example, I had 4 centers, right, in India, and each of them had a different focus. ITC Singer, Sangeet Research Academy, wants to create professional performers, world-class performers. That's their focus. So they don't focus on examinations, testing, curriculum. They think all those things are distraction in learning music. If you want to be a master musician, you have to focus on the music and forget about all the things that may be relevant to somebody who is learning to become a music teacher. So Banaras Hindu University and University of Delhi, they are more modern institutions of imparting knowledge about Indian classical music. They teach practically, but there is also a lot of theoretical coverage, because they want to develop well-rounded individuals or well-rounded educators and academicians rather than just performers. And Saptak School of Music in Ahmedabad, it was a community center. The primary focus is to encourage as many people to learn music without imposing on them any high standards or any high expectation, but to just encourage them to learn music, so that there is more spread and appreciation of Indian classical music. You will see I have a question regarding this point in my panel discussion. Those of you who are aware, I'm sure all of you are aware of this term, Guru Shishya Parampara. This term is central to not only Indian classical music, but Indian psychology, Indian culture, Indian history as a whole. Education is seen as a process in which there is a guru, a teacher, who embodies knowledge, and through oral tradition he imparts that knowledge to the student. And there is a lot of emphasis on guru having spiritual qualities. Not all gurus do that, but it is expected. You are not just teaching music, you are helping the overall development of your student. And once you accept the student as your shishya or your student, your responsibility is immense. It's not to make money or exploit them, but it's to be responsible for their well-being throughout their lives. And similarly, students, the student in the Guru Shishya Parampara is not a client who pays money and get the education. Not that that's not happening. I'm telling you the ideal notion of Guru Shishya Parampara. That's revered and followed by many. But then we have modern influences and capitalist influences and livelihood demands that impact things as well. So the role of a student is to be completely devoted to the teacher and learn from them, imbibe not only the knowledge they are transmitting, but their personality, their way of being. So the importance of living with the teacher, which has changed in the recent times. Music as spiritual art. So as you might have experienced, I'm not sure, through listening to the music, that this music is not just entertainment. It's not to entertain you only. It's to draw you into the deep meditative quality of this music. So a student is encouraged to understand that the purpose of this music is not to become famous, because it takes years and years of training to be able to present this music in front of other people. So if your goal is not to deeply understand, deeply enjoy this music and pursue it meditatively, this is perhaps not the music for you. I think I covered this point. Freedom to create, freedom to create and improvise and spontaneity, they are also very central to Indian classical music. You must have sensed the performers who are not explaining, but you might have got a sense that they don't have like a whole sheet. Maybe they have some reference notes, but they are not playing line by line by line. So the music demands you to meditate on the raga, meditate on the melodic structure. That meditation in itself creates a process through which you improvise and create on the spot. And that's also the expectation. Having said that, it requires long training with your teacher to be able to do that. I said it will be quick, right? It is quick. So, three conclusions I want you to take away with. That ICM is an Indian classical music, is an ancient pedagogical tradition that we can learn a great deal from. And I'm sure if we study other art forms, other traditional cultures, we will find so many parallels and so many interesting insights that we can integrate into the teaching and learning process. We cannot impose, this point is not that relevant for this audience, so I'll skip that. This unique study was enlightening experiences on many levels for me, because to be able to see how the music is shared by teacher with the student at advanced levels. I met some of the very prominent figures in Indian classical music, and to see them face to face, 2 or 3 students sitting in a small room in front of the teacher in an intimate space with complete devotion, and how they learn and imbibe that knowledge, it was just something very tremendous for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you so much. I hope you found some understanding of Indian classical music, especially in its pedagogical context. I think now we will move on to the panel. So I will invite panelists to come on the stage. Hello everyone. So happy to have heard your music, and so excited to learn from you about your journey with Indian classical music. So the first question is, what do you consider some of the most beautiful and unique features of Indian classical music that drew you towards it? As I said, Arul, everybody doesn't have to answer all the questions, whichever question you feel comfortable with. So who's going to respond to the first question? Go for it, Aravind.
Yeah, I can go for it. Actually, I think this question, I want to take it when Ashwani sir told that. Because like Indian classical music is something which I was not aware of. Like I was just like listening to film music or like light music or semi-classical musics. But I was not aware of Indian classical music when I was like a very kid, like when I was in school and all. But when I came to college, like around 10th or 12th, after 12th, there was a senior of mine who like introduced to me for Indian classical music. When he introduced to me, he like told about some guru by name Mohan Kalurgi. He was my only guru till now. So I went to him and I started learning about Indian classical music. Till that time, I was not aware of Indian classical music. But when I started that, the only thing which drew to Indian classical music is like, if you want to learn music, there should be some base, like base. It is kind of basement. So that Indian classical music, I thought it will be like a basement for my singing. So I thought like there was, I was having in my mind that I need to become a great singer, a playback singer or something. So for that purpose, I started learning Indian classical music. But like after 1 month, 2 months, I was not getting that kind of interest in that. But I didn't like stop it. I just pushed myself to learn that. But you know, when I I lost myself in Indian classical music, it drove me like to forget all the film music, light music and all. So it was something like a parallel world to me. It's not like I just come to the class, I forget that I'm in this place, I'm in this city. I just forget that. I used to just enter into that classical music, and like I used to feel that I'm into separate world. I'm not here. I'm just alone and I'm flying. And one good thing about Indian classical music is like we are like humans. We don't have wings. We just have a wing. You get a wings and you started flying. How do you feel? It's not like there is some direction you want to fly. You have wings and you can fly like anything, like a bird, like how the bird flies. So that only thing drew me a lot to learn Indian classical music. Like after that, like I just like explored some of the great vocalists of Indian classical music. I was much inspired by Vincent, his Tana, and that variations. I was like mad about that variations. I wanted to learn. That urge of learning Indian classical music also like gave me more interest to pursue that. So that's what I want to tell about Indian classical music.
Thank you so much, Arul. Not Arul, Aravind. Who's the next person who's going to maybe respond to this question? Sahara?
For me, it was, I heard the sounds of Indian classical music, but actually any Indian music, as a child here in Nova Scotia when I was growing up, and there was nobody except for my father. He was from Afghanistan, and he would play Indian music, Afghan music, and he was the only one I knew. Even the rest of our family didn't really listen to music the way he did. And so, because I grew up here, and I learned Western music, all kinds, classical and folk and all different things. My mother was a piano teacher, so I could go fluidly between different Western styles, but I could not. I would just listen to tapes and I would, sort of try to imitate them or try to sing along in a language I didn't know and in, a style I didn't know. So it took me a long time, but it was so different. And I think the thing, to try to answer your question, the thing that drew me, really it was the female singers. It was the, our teacher would call gamakas, the ornamentation, the means, the beautiful way of going between notes that was so different that I couldn't do it on my own. I really needed a teacher to go into it. And then when the first time that I had that really meditative feeling that you're talking about, that's when I knew, okay, this journey, because it was a struggle to get. I had to go all the way to India, I had to find a teacher, lots of things happened. But that first moment when the rag came through me, and I was like, oh, now I understand classical music in a different way. And and it's all been just for, I just needed to know it, I think. But because it was, it's hard to explain why.
Thank you. Should I move on to the second question? Okay. What's the most significant aspect of the Guru Shishya tradition of teaching and learning in your view? If you learned in a Guru Shishya tradition, how was your experience?
I'll try this. Yeah, I started learning in classical music when I was 5, and then I also started learning. You'll start learning. Yeah, so I have a very long relationship with my gurus. I started with my first teacher, who was Ravi Kumar Master, as we all call him. And then I was with him for about 7 years, and then I moved to another teacher, who is Kanyakumari, the world-renowned violinist. And yeah, I mean, if you ask me, who is your teacher? Who do you see your teacher as? I would see her as everything. I mean, not just music. I see her inspiring my life in so many different ways. So that has really gone too deep in my music, and it is always inspiring. It's like, I can't explain it in words, perhaps. It's so deep, and then that kind of a relationship. I really wonder if anybody in this generation or the future would be able to get and earn things from that relationship, and then and see how beautifies life in a more meaningful way. So that's how I see the relationship between a guru and Shishya, and it is more than words.
Thank you. Arul is a man of few words. This is the most I have seen him speak since I have known him. Thank you. I'm glad that I organized this panel. Thank you.
And I'm trying to speak.
Who is going to tackle this question?
I think it goes back to some of the research study that you showed, right? It's based on far beyond a transaction of lesson. You highlighted the dedication part of it, the spirituality and the meditative aspect, the lifelong learning and going beyond, right? They often give us, right, the different people that do it differently. They just know how to give. They don't care if they're making any money on this or not. They inspire you in more than one way, right? It's not just about music, it's like you said. It goes far deeper to your DNA than just learning something. So I think you can talk enough about it, but if you haven't experienced it, you're not going to get it.
Anybody else on that question?
Just to offer a slightly different situation. When I came to Indian classical music, I won't say by accident, but certainly without a logical progression. I grew up in the suburbs of Ontario, learning music of various types. I had no direct connection with Indian music per se, but I heard the sounds first. So maybe this sort of answers your first question, which is what is it that draws you in? I didn't intend to seek a guru, and in some ways my study is not a traditional guru shishya, although I do consider myself shishya to my great teacher, Professor Vidwan Shruti Shankran, who's a master of the mridangam from South India. But what that gave me that I wasn't getting in my Western music education was the joy of service. And how, he's this amazing person who's giving me all of these gifts, and he's opening his heart to me, and it makes one want to give back. It's almost instinctive, and it's not always that. I'm still helping him now. He's been in my life for over 30 years now, and I still assist Shankran Sir with maintaining his website and doing online digital sales for him and helping him out with all the technical things where he says, I don't get it because he's 82. He's like, I don't get it. He doesn't have to. And it's part of, so I think for me, the beauty of that relationship is, certainly I've been giving, I've been receiving his gifts, but it's also allowed me to give back.
My personal experience about Guru Shishya Parampara is when I started learning the music with my teacher, So when I started with him, it was like not a good relationship. But now I feel that what he did was right, because when you are going with a teacher, like learning music with a teacher, he doesn't show more interest on you. It means we should be more interested to take the music from him. So if we are giving more interest to learn, so he will show that, okay, this person is interested, I need to teach too. So that's what I learned from my teacher. So, and he used to tell, like, there is a saying in Kannada, not saying, he used to tell me that we should not have a greed, we should have an interest. So in Kannada they say like, ase irbardu, asakti irbeku. So it means we should not have greed on getting that. We should have interest on that one. Because greed may last, but interest will not go forever. So that's what I learned from him. And also, like, there's a saying in Kannada, like, Guru vina gulamanagu tanaka doreyadana mukuti. What it means is, until you're a servant of a guru, there is no ultimate peace. So we need to surrender ourselves to our guru. Then only he will pour his knowledge to us. So that's what I learned from him. So he taught me all the disciplines. Like not only he, after like going to him, he told me like whatever you see besides you, whatever you see, you take it as a lesson. Not only as part of music, but into your life also. So he taught me a lot of things. So I consider my mother, my father, and my guru, these three people, as like very big place in my learning career. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. You know, Zakir Hussain, one of the greatest tabla players from India, he says that it's not that the teacher teaches, it's a student who learns.
Exactly.
If there is a willingness in student, then the teacher will teach. And traditionally, teachers generally won't accept students easily. You'll have to go through a lot of rigmarole and lot of requests and all that if a teacher is really going to take you under their wing, because once they take you under their wing, it's their responsibility, your development. Thank you. Can you share one enjoyable and one challenging moment from your experience of learning Indian classical music? Who's going to tackle? You can share more than one. Nobody's going to take that question? Arul is taking it. Great.
No, learning Indian classical music itself is very challenging because it requires a lot, not just the time. You have to devote your everything to learn the art and then master the craft. It's a lot. It's not very easy. It's not for everyone that too. And in my career of learning music, I have seen like hundreds of fellow musicians who started along with me, and eventually they all came in. So, how many students have really learned the craft? It would be like tens maximum. So it's very difficult. So learning Indian classical itself is very challenging, I would say.
Very true. No takers? Okay. Maybe I am doubting my ability to answer questions.
No, sir. Actually, the challenging part is holding the swara, like in Indian classical music. It takes time. I heard like one of my teacher used to tell like, you just sing one note for months, for years, just one note in olden days. So that Guru Shishya Parampara in Gurukul system. So they used to teach only one swara for almost months together, years together, just to know like how to catch that note. Because if you are catching it in the wrong way, when you are starting, it will continue. It's very difficult to come out of that. So what he says is like, do it right in the first time, when you are doing it for the first time. So that he taught me, that was a challenging experience for me, because I used to struggle, because I used to sing film music and all. And the very, it's not bad thing, film music will, what it gives is like, we try to imitate the actual singer in the film music. That happened with me a lot. So, and the good thing is like, if I go to some orchestra, I used to like go to orchestras and sing film songs also. So when I go to orchestra and come back and come to the class next day, so my guru used to tell that, okay, yesterday you had been to orchestra and sing film songs. I don't know like how did you come to know? I can see the change in her voice. So that deeply he used to follow my voice. So that was very challenging for me to get the right note, like how to hold it, like how to maintain my voice regularly. On like you will have so many things to eat every day, the climate, the weather changes. So with all those things, maintaining the voice is a very big challenge for me. So that's very big challenge even now.
I think one of the challenges with Indian classical music is, as Arul and Aravind both alluded to, is that it's so immense and so deep. It's like standing at the edge of an ocean. And because of that, sometimes you can feel like you're just a drop. Like, how can you even think about touching the ocean or presenting the ocean to somebody? So, because everybody who touches Indian classical music, you almost immediately feel its incredible depth. and that can make, I think that can challenge a person to feel very small as you look into the ocean of it. So that's a challenge, and that's also the beauty of it. I think your question was, what have you enjoyed? What's the beauty? I think that feeling of overwhelm that Indian classical music can invoke in people is both the beauty and the challenge.
Thank you. What do you think is the significance of Indian classical music for the multicultural context of Nova Scotia and Canada? Any takers?
Everybody.
Yes. Ken and Sahara must take this question.
Well, full disclosure, I'm not originally from Nova Scotia, but I have lived in Nova Scotia longer than I've lived anywhere else, so I will speak it. Can you say that question again? That's a huge question.
What do you think is the importance of Indian classical music for the multicultural context? What is the importance of Indian classical music for the multicultural context of Nova Scotia and Canada? Basically, everywhere in the world, definitely in Canada, we should celebrate diversity. That's where this question is coming from. So what is because it's a very old, abiding tradition. Does it have a place in the context of Nova Scotia and Canada?
I think, I would say it's broader than that even. My feeling, one of the things that was, that I didn't know growing up as someone in the West and studying, Western classical music and listening to pop music and doing a bit of jazz, I wasn't aware, when you say classical music to most people who live in North America, they don't know there's more than one. They assume you're talking about Mozart, they assume you're talking about Bach. And so it's very valuable, I think, to a multicultural perspective to know that there are art musics outside of the Western canon, thank you. And so that, in some small way, having more of a presence in Nova Scotia certainly is amazing, and more opportunities for the musicians to perform, more opportunities for audiences to enjoy and to learn about the music. I think it has huge benefit.
Thank you. Sahara.
I don't know how to exactly explain what I mean, but because I heard the sounds as a child and wanted it so much and could not, there was nobody there to teach or to even share the albums with or anything. I think for me the importance is that Indian classical music is so deep and so vast, and it gives, for me, even when I sing in Western styles now, it is absolutely informed by the rhythms and the ragas, and so it broadens and deepens my experience as a human being, and so I think that is valuable to anyone, even when I wasn't in my very beginning of learning. I always think of my first lessons as listening in concerts, and Mumbai that first year that I was there, and I was very blessed to be able to go to hear absolutely great musicians without any real context for what they were doing, and still it almost took me out of my body and moved me so much. So I think just the presence here is absolutely, for me personally, it's very moving to have you all here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll try to do more and more of it. Anybody else? Yeah?
So I think the significance for Nova Scotia is, as you've heard everybody say, music is culture. Music really embodies the culture of India, and you can see, when we talk about the Guru Shishi Parampara, it's such a modest culture. It invokes humility. That's such an important part of the culture. So through music we share our cultural diversity. So I just feel like being able to share our sound, of course, that's a huge blessing, but also to share our culture through our music is also a valuable aspect.
Because music is rooted in culture, right? Very deeply. Last question, maybe all of you can offer a brief response to it if you wish. What do you think is the significance of today's event for you?
Okay, I'll jump. For me, because I'm a musician who operates in different fields. One of my hats is that I'm an instructor of music at Acadia in Wolfville, and I teach courses there in non-Western music, and I'm the only person on our faculty that offers anything outside of the European canon. And what I've noticed working with students is that rhythm, speaking as a rhythm person, rhythm is not comfortable. And students who grow up in the Western music system, if they don't have a natural sense of rhythm, they're sort of left to sink or swim. They don't have the knowledge that there is a whole system available from Indian music to help train you, to help improve your sense of time, to bring your laya into a more comfortable space. And so, to me, the fact that I've been, the one person waving the flag for we should look outside of the Western system to help our students with things like rhythm. And most of my colleagues don't even have a chance to. They don't know what I'm talking about, really. So I think the importance for me being at this event, first of all, it's very humbling to be here and playing tabla, which is not my specialty. It is an instrument that I play amongst many other instruments, and so it was very humbling to be here before you playing tabla, but also to feel that the strength of Indian music culture in the province is starting to grow. I think that's what it's very, I don't know what the word is, very potent for me to be here and to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody's volunteering, everybody else.
No, I think I think the best part was the fun, right? We had a great time listening to everybody and getting to know new people to us was the best part. And seeing, like I was saying before, the fun part is to understand and see different styles and learn from them. There's no right or wrong. You can understand the science and see it in different ways. So that was the most fun part for me, and I think it's a platform, right? As a goal, it's good.
Yeah, like Ketan said, once in a while I think getting together as musicians and performing your art form, different musicians from different parts of the world, all performing their own style, and then getting to know each other through their music, that's really fun. We don't get a lot of chances here in Nova Scotia, right? And it's really great that Ashwin has always invites me for these functions. And yeah, I really love the setup here, the sounding here, the food here. So yeah, all those are really significant. And yeah, the fun part is most of the time we are all into our own world, which will be too away from what we do here. So once in a while to come over here aligns us with our lives. That connection is back, and then yeah, that recharges our batteries for some time. We connect again. So that is a very significant part.
Wonderful. I'm so glad I organized this panel. Arul speaking. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel very similar. It has just been so much joy for me to meet everyone and hear everyone. And yeah, now I forgot the questions. I don't know. What is of this event for me? Yeah. Well, yeah, for me it feels like I'm often very much alone in my practice, and also I live in the valley, and because of all the world events of recent years, I've not been back to India, and I have not been reconnected with my teacher, and so even finding the practice, and also I play other music styles. This is my favorite. It's not necessarily the one I perform, but it's the one that means the most to me. So, yeah, just being able to have a reason to concentrate and practice and know that I get to share even just a conversation with people who know what the music is. It's really good for me. So for me, that's I think the most special.
Thank you. Arul?
Yeah, I agree with Arul what he said. And one more thing is like the significant thing is for me, like many people who are here, they are like maybe some of them they would be listening to this kind of music for the first time. So I feel that like I feel so good that I'm the first person to tell them that what is Indian classical music. Like not me, like all of them. So I feel great about that they are knowing Indian classical music through us. So and we are like trying to help them and make them understand what is Indian classical music. That like really feels me very happy about this event.
Great joy and big responsibility, right? Yeah.
And actually, it's really a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I agree with everybody. Of course, it's a huge pleasure. First of all, to hear everybody, and I think everybody up here is so authentic about their love for their art that it's just really inspiring for all of us. But also, I mean, to share the stage with Arul, who is a very, very modest guy, but a very, very accomplished musician, has been hugely pleasurable for me, especially because I also fiddle around on the violin a little bit, so I've been able to learn a lot from him while watching him. And then also, I hear Ashwini's compositions at home all the time when they're very raw.
Too many.
Yeah. But this gives me a chance to hear them in a very, very beautiful form. So that's what makes these special.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I won't add too much commentary because I want some responses or some commentary from the audience as well. So Bonnie and Zaira, if you can hold 2 mics for anybody who would like to share anything. There are very few folks left. But if those of you who are here, and I will volunteer one person, Ramesh ji, I know you can speak a lot. So any thoughts from you about what you enjoyed here, or any question you may have?
Thank you, Professor Ashwini, and I think you're also having some special ability to distinguish between those who don't talk much, like Arul, and we who love to talk. Besides,
Both equal lovers of music.
Yeah, that is, again, first kudos to my teacher, Ashwini Kumar. He found a bunch of dummies like me. I started learning my music journey only last year. Right now I'm 61 years old, and the youngest student in the class is just 7. So that's the fun and joy of learning music. My question is, there is a sad part of the overall artist situation, according to my personal observation. These accomplished, talented individuals who learn the music at a very young age, they come from India in their dream to make their life better and so on and so forth. And probably this forum should grow into making their lives, their dreams come true. I see there is a spark right now, and hopefully it will grow. I have no more questions. It was my summary.
Great comment. I totally agree. Thank you. Anybody else would like to share a thought or two? Mohammed, how about you? I'm volunteering people.
Thank you so much for tonight. I enjoyed it a lot, and we don't have this opportunity a lot in Halifax to listen to types of maestro musician, specifically in Indian classical music. And please do it again and again. And I have a specific question about the violin. You tune it like a Western violin. In different raga, my question is, in different raga, you don't change the tune based on the tonic of the raga. For example, all the time you have the same tune for the violin, or you change it?
Yeah, so for Indian classical, for Carnatic or Hindustani, we don't change the tuning based on scale or anything like that. And we don't tune it like EADG as we do in Western. So it's always Sapa, Sapa. So any note can be sa, any note can be pa. So it depends upon which we are going to tune it to. So which could be C or C sharp, D, anything. And it's different from the scale, what we learn from Western classical. So it's different tuning from Western basically.
Thank you.
Yeah, then sa, pa is just the intervals. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So please hold this type of event again and again.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I think we can conclude the event. I have to offer vote of thanks, offer some thanks. So give me a minute.
If we're waiting for you to do that, I do actually have a question. And it's something about a link between spirituality and music. And so with Western music, it's generally religious music that has that kind of spirituality. But that's not the case with Indian classical music. It's not necessarily religious music, but it still seems to have a spiritual connection and also a very physical one. And I mean sensual, physical in that kind of way. And I guess that's my question. What do you see as the difference between, say the main difference between Indian classical music and Western classical music as far as religion goes? Or spirituality maybe is a better word to use.
Yes. Is it in relation to Bonnie's question?
Spirituality.
Wonderful. Here, there is the mic. Well done.
Well, from my childhood, I always listened to the radio. That's all I had. I did not take on music very much. It's not music only. It's our life.
Rabindranath Tagore, who was a very famous poet from India, from Bengal, and he was a Nobel laureate. And he also composed a lot of music which became a canon in itself called Rabindra Sangeet. That's what Vandana Aunty is referring to.
Yes, Tagore is the first one who won the Nobel Prize for his book called Gitanjali. And Gitanjali is to us like a Bible. So, whenever I need some spirit within me from my childhood, either I will recite the poem from his book or sing. I never learned how to sing, but I love it. And still I do in my home, though I went to Guruji Mr. Pias to learn semi-classical. And he says, I learned how to play harmonium. That's what my dream was, and I was surprised. Anyway, like I still, whenever I feel anything that I need the spirit within me, what is there to invoke and connect with that because he covered the whole life. He has a very hard life from his childhood, and whenever I feel anything bad and even seeing the music will come right away. How the raindrops sound or how the leaves, he never saw anything bad in the world because his childhood was very, very hard. And even his death, like he lost his mother very early. He was the marriage day. He lost his in-law, and then we encouraged her right-in-law, the sister-in-law, and lot of son, daughter. But he never said he was so sad. Maybe once they despair, but he saw death as a like Lord Krishna, and I cannot sing or say that poet is he like a blue Krishna. He never saw any sadness come to him. So that's us who Bengali people don't want to lose that from our heart. And anything like any natural thing, we don't really appreciate. We don't see the flower blooms and the art, and we feel he thought, don't be same because he's a flower growing in the art. Is that blessing, So we feel so thankful to that he got that kind of with the art. So to him everything is thankful, and that's what I learned, not to see or think anything is inferior anything, whether it's soil that leaves help the flower to grow, or just like the way the lotus comes from the mud. So it has what we use inside us, and that we have to bloom like that and keep going that time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the dais? Any thoughts? Music and spirituality, Indian classical music and spirituality.
I can go with that. Actually, the Indian classical music, the pattern like the tanpura which we play, it will be playing sa pa. So there is a universal sound which we call an om. That om sounds like om. It's kind of loop. So and that's what we will be playing all the time when we are singing like classical music. So it connects with the universe. So always the classical music, it's like we are like attaining to reach that frequency, that what you call that frequency of that particular note. So reaching there itself is like we are reaching to the God, like we are reaching to the ultimate person who is looking after us. So that's what I feel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Okay, so let me conclude this event with my closing remarks. First of all, I would really like to, thank all of you, the audience who came and supported this event despite the bad weather. And a very, very special thanks goes to all the musicians for sharing their musical knowledge, their time, their thoughts with us. Just reading out their name again: Arul, Corelli, Avinash Kaur, Ketan, Kulkarni, Sahara, Ken, Shorley, Aravind, Nayha, Acharya, Siddharth, Sundaram. Big applause. Thank you. And a big thank you to the conference services and their staff, including the Chartwell folks, those who have been helping us out here. Videographer Shivam Shah, who is recording the video despite being sick. And very, very, very big thank to event coordinators, Bonnie Peterson and Zaira Manila, definitely. And a thanks to Erika and Ian also for helping out at the event. Without these two, this event would not have been possible. Thank you. Thank you so much. And finally, Shirk Exchange Grant for providing funding for this application, for this event, and Dean and Nika. Again, everybody, thank you so much for coming here. Have a great evening. There is a lot of food. Talk to people, eat food, take food with you, and I will see you at another event when I get the opportunity to organize one, or you invite me to your event. Thank you. Oh God. Big thank, very, very big thank to Keelan Black. Sorry. A single guy handling such a big operation with so much change, it was impossible. I was very nervous and I was feeling embarrassed that I put him through so much, but I'm so happy that he could do it and he did it so wonderfully. Thank you so much, Keelan. Thank you.